What's going on, everyone? Happy Thursday to everyone. Hopefully everyone is doing well, staying safe, healthy. If you had to take a COVID test, hopefully you have tested negative. If you did test positive, I hope you have a full and speedy recovery with no long-term issues. It is time now for the Thursday edition of the Pandemic Update for Thursday, January 25th, 2024. If you're new to my channel, this is where we do the daily pandemic update on not just COVID, but general virus news, illness outbreaks, in general. Today we're going to talk about multiple schools that are having virus outbreaks. As you can see here, headline, yes, we're talking about a nursing home as well. So if you enjoy being informed with what's going on and being in the know, that helps keep you safe, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel down below. Alright, first off today, we have to talk about this. In Illinois, 13 residents and 12 staff test positive for COVID at LaSalle Veterans Home. No one was hospitalized. IDVA director says home's response has helped mitigate the impact. It says the Illinois Veterans Home in LaSalle has had 13 residents and 12 staff members test positive for COVID, according to the Illinois Department of Veterans Affairs. Each of them have shown mild symptoms, the agency said, and the good news is no one has been hospitalized so far, and looks like they are offering antiviral treatment at this time, and their top priority, they say, is the health and safety of the residents. Well, as we all know, if that was the case, they would have their staff wearing masks. I don't see anything about masks in this article, and get this, I want to point one thing out to you. Look at this right here. Visitors still are welcomed. However, please be aware of the risk of visiting during an outbreak. Why? Why do they want to risk visitors getting sick, risk more sickness coming into the home? Ugh, it just absolutely makes no sense. All right, remember last week we were talking about Wichita Falls, Kansas, or not Kansas, Wichita Falls, Texas area, and how Alny School District was having illness outbreak and they had to cancel classes. Well, if we take a look here, there are several other, not one, not two, not three, 4, 5, 6, 7, at least 7 different schools now in this portion of Texas. Schools or school districts have had to temporarily shut down schools due to flu outbreaks along with other annual infectious diseases. As you know, COVID is likely one of them, and some of them are going to be closed until next Monday. Let's move a little bit northward once again and take a look at what is going on up in Ohio, Cincinnati area. It says Cincinnati, WKRC. This comes from, it's a TV station in Cincinnati. School districts across the area are dealing with an outbreak of illnesses. We're starting to see more and more of this pop up. I thought it would have happened maybe a week or two ago, but it's happening now, and it's something we have to be mindful of. It could be the reason why there have been a few cities in the United States that have started to see the viruses go back up again. Perhaps maybe it is these school outbreaks. Let's read a little bit here. The Lynchburg Clay School District is shut down for 2 straight days. Superintendent Jack Fisher tells parents he made a difficult decision to close Thursday and Friday due to the amount of sickness. Again, this is something popping up more. Would not be surprising if we see more of these as we head later into the week. All right, let's go overseas. Let's talk about the NHC. This headline says the NHS sold out its staff. Doctors whose lives were devastated by long COVID to sue health service. Look at this. Let's come down here. Hundreds of doctors are planning to sue the NHS over claims inadequate PPE on the front line has left them with long COVID, disabled, and in financial ruin. Yeah, let's face it here. At the beginning of the pandemic, and even up to now, because, as we know, most people in healthcare are on multiple infections at this point. But in the beginning of the pandemic, there was a real lack of personal protection equipment, and it was a real problem, and a lot of people were getting sick. They didn't feel safe at work, and to be honest, they were not safe at work. The local hospital here was having a problem. Some people took to the news. It was the Nazareth Hospital here in Northeast Philadelphia. A lot of people took to the news that they were not, being kept safe. And it's just not here, as you can see. NHS, which is over in the UK, they are having the same problem, and now there are lawsuits. And trust me, I don't think this is going to be the last lawsuit. Matter of fact, we are going to document this one on my website, datareport.info. There'll be a link to that down below. You will want to check that out. We do have other legal cases during the pandemic. There's been a lot of legal stuff that's happened during the pandemic, fraudulent stuff, and in this case, I would not be surprised if they win their lawsuit, because let's face it, they were not kept safe, and many of them are now dealing with long COVID. They had to work up close with patients, and they still are doing it to this day. Some people took early retirement or had to leave the medical field because of the impact they're dealing with on long COVID. Long COVID's a real thing, and guess what? We are going to continue reporting on long COVID for as long as it is a real thing. All right, let's take a look at that hospital bed occupancy that we were taking a look at yesterday. We'll take a look at just a few states here. Nationally, all patients, 78.8% of beds are being used. 4.1% of them is because of COVID. 1.8% is for influenza. Let's just randomly go through a few states here. Delaware, what's going on there? Delaware, you're currently having 84.8% of your beds being used. 5.9% is for COVID-19. Only 0.9% is for influenza. How about Kansas? What's going on in Kansas? Well, in Kansas we see this is actually a pretty good thing. And this is where Kansas usually does rank. They usually are relatively lower amount of bed use because their capacity is actually pretty good in the state of Kansas. It's at 60.1% of beds being used. 2.2% is for COVID. 0.7% is for influenza. And then when we come down, let's take a look at Montana. How about Montana? What's going on there? Montana, 67.5% of beds being used. COVID is 2.1% of the occupancy, and 3.1% is for influenza. Let's take a look now and see what's going on in Ohio. Ohio has 76.1% of beds being used. 4% are for COVID, 1.5% are for influenza, and we will do one more state. How about we go out to Hawaii? What's going on there? Yikes. Hawaii is up to 79.4%. I don't start getting concerned until it gets over 80%, so not terrible yet, but it is creeping up there. You can see on the chart here. It was at 1.73.1%. Now it is up to 79.4%. COVID is 2.6% of that. Influenza is 1.4% of that. And let's take a look at the ICU. I meant to do that for the other states. And ICU usage is at 68.4%. COVID, just 0.7% of the ICU occupancy and 0.6% for influenza. Let's take a look at what is going on with air quality across the United States. And you will see there's still some problems going on in the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic. That's going to probably persist into tomorrow. It's not as bad as yesterday, and it also persists across the Great Lakes. Doing a little bit better in the West Coast. There's still some moderate to maybe bad air quality areas, but not as bad as it has been, and not all that bad in the Southeast or in the Mid-South or Four Corners region. Just a few in Texas that are problematic at this time. If you want to learn more about climate, I have another channel where I do just that. It's called Climate Data Report. We talk about all things climate and the forecast in the United States. There will be a card within this video where you will be able to click on a link that will take you over to my other channel. So check that out for all things climate and weather. Taking a look now at Walgreens, and we will see Walgreens this week. The positivity, as we know, did go up ever so slightly. Now let's take a look at just a couple wastewater scan sites around the country. And today I think what we'll do is we will take a look. Let's see what's going on in Indiana, shall we? How about we go down here to just south of Bloomington, Indiana. We'll take a look at the COVID levels there, and you can see COVID, wow, it actually is rising a little bit again. Still remains high. RSV is high. Has been kind of dropping a little bit up on the most recent update. Not terribly concerning, but again, it is still high, so we have to keep an eye on that. Influenza is low. HMPV is low, but rising. Norovirus is rising higher, and it already is high. No Mpox issues at this time. And now, let's just do one more wastewater site. How about we go over to Utah, into the Salt Lake City area. And this is a decent size wastewater site, 600,000 population. Medium for COVID. RSV at this time is high but dropping. Influenza B is high, but it's starting to rise a little bit again. HMPV still high and almost looks like it's trying to rise a little bit again. Hepatitis A, there have been a few detections of that, and no detections of Mpox at this time. All right, moving on now. Let's take a look at some CDC data. JN.1. If you haven't been following my pandemic updates, it's way ahead. It's at 85.7% of all cases now. Taking a look at the latest EMS calls from Philadelphia, 734 EMS calls reported on Wednesday. And let's do a live looking at the suburbs. And you can see here, yes, there are a few calls ongoing right now in Montgomery County. We see carbon monoxide. That's never a good thing. Cardiac arrest, respiratory emergency, and wow, look at all these vehicle accidents. That's concerning, but it's because we're having bad weather here. Chester County is just extremely busy with ambulance calls right now. Unconscious person, overdose, falls, respiratory, heart problems, overdose, sick person, injured person, sick person, diabetic emergency, respiratory, falls, stroke, sick person. My goodness, that is a lot of calls that they are seeing in Chester County, Pennsylvania right now. Good news out of New Jersey today. Hospitalizations are down to 990 with 69 out of 70 hospitals reporting. Only one hospital did not report. So I would think at this point, even if all 70 reported, I think we're either at or below 1,000, and 990, of course, that is below 1,000. So that is a good thing. We're starting to drop off really nicely in New Jersey. I hope that continues. 39 people are on a ventilator. In the ICU, 140, and discharges. Another 143 discharges. Taking a look at New York State. Cases are up over yesterday in New York State. 4,289 people tested positive. I don't think that's going to be part of an overall trend. I don't think we're going to start seeing another wave set on, but definitely it is something to watch. You can see here it has slowed down a little bit with the dropping, so it's something we have to watch. And one thing I'm reading about on Twitter and hearing from various different people is that with the JN.1 variant, reinfections apparently. So say you just had another variant or a case of COVID right before JN.1 became a thing. Well, apparently people are getting reinfected in shorter amounts of time. Like, for example, say someone tested positive in September or October of last year. Well, some of these people are already testing positive again. This is a real problem, and it's something we will have to keep monitoring. Hospital situation in New York State continues to greatly improve, much like what's going on in New Jersey. You can see the peak was back on the 2nd of January with 3,403 hospitalizations. They are now all the way down to 2,450, really dropping off nicely, something that we like to see in New Jersey. All right, we do have a couple states to look at. Fortunately, Texas is not one of them. Let's just check again. Maybe this old dashboard for Texas will still update. No, it didn't, and I don't think it's going to. And it says right here is the respiratory illness dashboard. I'm not seeing any data on here. We'll try to get a clear answer of what is going on with that. Of course, if you know anything, let me know down below. Chicago. Remember we saw some wastewater rising in Chicago? Well, it's not translating onto their dashboard at this time because hospitalizations. There's 24 average daily hospitalizations. That's down. Beds use is down. Emergency departments is down. Laboratory confirmed cases. Daily average is 148. That's down. Deaths are down. And vaccinations. Unfortunately, they're down. That's red because, well, that's not something you'd like to see go down. Colorado at this time. We're looking at a flattening to ever so slightly rising hospitalizations. It was 207 the previous week. It's now up to 211. Taking a look here at their other data, it should say cases here. Cases reported, they are down 2,036. They're down ever so slightly, down by 565, which means these hospitalizations should soon start to drop as well. Washington, COVID-19 emergency department visits. Influenza, RSV for emergency department, all down. Hospital admissions, down for everything. And ICU, COVID-19, 31. Influenza is at 19. And finally, let's see, did Massachusetts update for this week? We're hoping that we have an update out of Massachusetts. And what I'm seeing here, yes, it does say January 25th. Influenza level is moderate. COVID is low. And COVID-19 hospital admissions is low. 13.8% of all emergency department visits were for acute respiratory disease in the past week. Alrighty, folks, that does it for today's pandemic update. We will have another pandemic update again tomorrow where we will have data out of California and the weekly flu update and whatever news pops up for tomorrow. If you enjoyed this update, Give it a thumbs up. If you learned anything, you want to learn more, you want to stay informed, subscribe to my channel down below. If you know anyone who needs to see these videos, share this with them. Share it on your social media pages. Share it wherever. Get the word out that the pandemic's not over and that, hey, there's a guy named Data Report that's still out there reporting on the pandemic. And of course, if you got anything to say it down below. I will see you all again tomorrow. Until I see you again tomorrow, stay safe, everyone, and have a fantastic Thursday evening. Thanks for watching.